Wet Leg. Do they live up to all the much anticipated hype with the release of their first album in 2022? Today, we'll find out on Indie Miners. G'day and welcome to Indie Miners. I'm your host Al, and in Melbourne we have BJ. G'day BJ.
G'day mate, how's it going?
Good mate. Today, Wet Leg. We're going to explore all the hype, have a look at a few top tracks and give you our thoughts and opinions on what is the much anticipated album of 2022. BJ, I'm going to throw it over to you. Give us a bit of history about the hype leading up to the album.
Will do. Thanks, Al. So, Wet Leg, probably the story about that began around about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, where Rhian Teasdale and Hester Chambers met up in their musical college class on the Isle of Wight. They both ended up dropping out of those classes, pursuing different projects over the years, but got back together in 2019 to form the group Wet Leg. They come up with the name for a couple of reasons as far as I can understand. One, Wet Leg can actually be spelt with an emoji. It's also a bit of an in-joke for Isle of Wighters, with non-Isle of Wighters coming onto the island and getting a wet leg. Don't fully understand, but I guess the one thing, Al, is that it's nothing sexual. The band ended up releasing their first song, Shay Long, in June 2021, and that particular song went absolutely viral. It was getting into the picks of the week. It was getting quite acclaimed. They've released 5 further songs after that particular song, and in April 2022 released their debut album with those songs plus others. So this particular album, I think we've just listened to this for a week now. There is something about an album where you instantly recognise it as a classic. It doesn't happen very often, but it certainly felt like it happened this time.
Oh, absolutely, BJ. And that leads us into the next part of the show where we talk about the top 3 tracks. And I know you and I really deliberated on this. I'm going to throw it over to you in a moment, but I really struggled with my my top 3. I'd be interested in your thoughts, BJ. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, look, absolutely. Like, I really struggled to find a top 3. In fact, I was actually thinking about ones that were at the bottom, and those ones happen to be released, and I won't reveal what those are. But in terms of third position, the third one we've decided upon is I Don't Want to Go Out, which is track 4 off the album. It's got a lot of interesting influences as far as I can see. It's interesting to see if those influences would be confirmed by the group, but I can see bits of Bowie, bits of Velvet Underground, and bits of Nirvana in terms of the song structure. Obviously, she sings in a slightly different way to those people, but very, very laid back and interesting track. Number 2 is Angelica. Now, Angelica was an interesting one because I think, Al, that's your favourite one. It took me a little bit of time to warm up to that track, but I actually get it now after listening to a few times, and it is something that is a little bit of a slow burner in terms of the song. It's got a sort of a drone chord aspect to it. It reminded me a little bit of The Vine. Yep. So some of off that first album, there was a couple of songs that just it reminded me of back with regards to that, which again is sort of part of what they seem to be influenced by with regards to that rock revival as well as the 90s in terms of where they're coming from. But number 1 is the first track off the album, which is Being in Love. And Being in Love, it's that track is certainly the standout track from the album from myself, Al. It wasn't released, so this is a brand new song for people who have not been familiar with Wet Leg, and I'm actually one of those people. I've never really listened to the songs beforehand, but Being in Love has a real killer chorus. It is a really outstanding way to start the album. Now, Al, I'm not sure what you think about those 3 selections. I know it was really tough when we decided upon. Did you have any standouts in particular from there?
Yeah, I agree with you. Angelica for me is just an absolute ripper of a song. I'm just watching the film clip as well. You get this sense that the girls just are absolutely just having a whale of a time and not giving 2 hoots about what they say, and just really 2 young rockers absolutely ready to take on the world. So for me, that track kind of sums up the album, mate. And I guess that leads on to the last part of our show when we're going to give the album a rating, and I'd be interested in your thoughts here, mate, because we might be on the same page, we might not be. What do you think?
It's a tough one, mate. Look, I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. Now, I feel as if maybe I should be giving it 5 stars, but it's been a week since I've been listening to it. I've been listening to it the entire week, so maybe I'll be revising that in a year's time. But I really felt that everything about it was just really sort of fun to listen to. There's not too many bands out there that do happy and sad. So I think when you look at the classic bands out there, you likes of Nirvana, they do these sort of fun tracks, but they do them sort of in a sad way. So they have songs that are fun, as well as songs that are a little bit more on the serious side. So it feels as if they've got a little bit of a mix, but they're very good at being able to tell a story, particularly with regards to living in your mid to late 20s. So Al, I'll be interested to know if you got it close to where I got to, but yeah, very, very happy with this album.
Yeah, look, I'm going to go zero 0.5 less. I'm going to give them a 4. It's a real grower of an album. For me, each listen, it just gets better and better. So I'd be interested, again, in 12 months' time to give it another review. But I've got to say that after listening to the album and then seeing some live performances on YouTube, these girls know how to rock. They are tight, they are solid, and I'd be interested if anyone knows of any similar bands coming through the same kind of waves, if they want to put a comment below there, and we'd be keen to explore them too, because I believe, BJ, this is a new wave of music coming out. Reminds me a lot of 2000, 2002, the Vines, the Hives, the Strokes. Good times, mate. That leads us to the end of the show, mate. We are going to have what we call a fireside chat next, where BJ and I will have a bit more of a looser conversation about the album, a bit more history about the girls leading up to the album. We hope you can join us for that. BJ, it's been great catching up again for this episode of Indie Miners, and we look forward to catching you next time.